The studio lights of Good Morning America shone brightly,
Hello.
illuminating the gleaming set as producers and crew bustled around in preparation for a highly anticipated segment. Keanu Reeves had agreed to a rare live interviewee, a quiet actor known for his humility and heart, rarely seen in talk show controversies. But today, things would take an unexpected turn. Joy Behar, temporarily guest hosting on GMA, was known for her sharp tongue and divisive takes, and this combination with Keanu, beloved and composed, would ignite a moment no one saw coming. The show began with the usual flair. The hosts exchanged jokes, commented on the morning headlines, and introduced Keanu with the enthusiasm the audience expected. He walked in dressed casually, black blazer, dark jeans, and that unmistakable aura of calm kindness that made fans adore him. "Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Keanu Reeves," announced Michael Strahan, smiling broadly. The applause thundered. Keanu gave a polite nod and a soft smile, settling into his seat. But before Michael could begin the interview, Joy Behar cut in with a smirk. "So, Keanu, I heard you don't like politics. What's the matter? Don't have an opinion? Or just afraid to offend your fan base?" she asked, a hint of challenge in her voice. The energy shifted instantly. Keanu, clearly surprised, blinked, leaned back slightly, and then offered a calm, "Well, I've always believed that my role as an actor isn't to tell people how to think, but to offer them stories that help them feel." Joy scoffed. "That's a convenient way to avoid responsibility. You have a platform, don't you? Think you owe it to the public to speak up?" The studio was silent for a moment. Keanu didn't flinch. "I think responsibility looks different for everyone," he said gently. "For me, it's about compassion, quiet actions, listening, kindness. That's my activism." But Joy didn't stop. "Compassion doesn't change policy. Feelings don't change law," she shot back, her voice growing sharper. "People want you to pick a side." Keanu's brows drew together, not in anger but in disappointment. "I picked the side of decency," he said, his voice clear. "I picked the side of children who go to bed hungry, of people grieving silently, of veterans who sit alone in parking lots hoping someone remembers their names. If that's not a side, I don't know what is." A hush fell over the studio. Even the producers off camera froze. Hush. Joy Behar, clearly flustered by his gentle but firm rebuttal, tried to pivot. "So are you saying people who speak out are doing it wrong?" "No," Keanu said softly. "I'm saying we don't all have to raise our voices to be heard. Sometimes silence speaks volumes when it's backed by action." The audience clapped. A few stood. Joy forced a laugh, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Okay, Keanu, so now you're the Dalai Lama of Hollywood, huh?" It was meant as a joke. It fell flat. Keanu offered a soft, sad smile. "Oh, just a guy who's seen too much pain to add to it." What followed was an uncomfortable silence. Michael, ever the professional, stepped in to steer the conversation, but Joy was visibly agitated. Keanu answered every question with his usual thoughtfulness, speaking about a children's cancer charity he supported, his recent donations to food banks across North America, and the quiet visits he made to hospitals without cameras. The audience adored him, but Joy kept shifting in her seat. During a commercial break, a crew member whispered something into her earpiece. She pulled it out and stood abruptly. "I'm done," she muttered. The producers were stunned. "What do you mean?" "I can't sit here and watch sainthood in real time," she snapped, grabbing her notes and storming off the set. The live feed hadn't resumed yet, but the moment hadn't gone unnoticed. A backstage camera caught a glimpse of her walking out, her mic still hot for a second. Back on set, Keanu looked toward where she had left, then turned to the others. "I didn't mean to offend her," he said quietly, "but kindness isn't a weakness." Michael patted his shoulder. "You didn't offend anyone, Keanu. You reminded us who we should be." As the show returned to air, Keanu spoke directly to the audience about grace in conflict, about choosing respect over being right. "We all come from different experiences," he said, "but if we meet anger with calm and mockery with kindness, we can change the temperature of the room." That clip went viral. Within hours, social media was flooded with messages praising Keanu's composure. Hashtags like #KeanuGrace and #kindness as strength trended worldwide. Viewers shared stories of how his words brought them peace, how they reflected on arguments with loved ones, how they were inspired to act with more compassion. Joy Behar issued a brief statement the next day. Live TV can get heated. I regret walking off mid-show, and I respect Keanu's grace under pressure. But the damage to her reputation lingered. Meanwhile, Keanu never commented again on the incident. Instead, a week later, a quiet story emerged from a nurse at a New York hospital. She posted online that Keanu had anonymously funded new dialysis equipment after visiting a terminally ill child whose father had told him how outdated their machines were. He didn't say anything when he visited, she wrote. He just listened. And then a few days later, new equipment showed up with a note that read, "For the fighters." That's the kind of man he is. Back on GMA, Michael reflected a week later. In a world full of noise, Keanu reminded us that kindness is a language everyone understands. Keanu went on with his life. He returned to filming, made no further comment, and stayed exactly who he had always been: quietly generous, deeply thoughtful, and unwilling to compromise his values for a headline. And in homes across the world, that one moment, that quiet stand for kindness, left a louder impression than any shout ever could. The buzz surrounding the GMA segment didn't fade. The next it grew. Across the internet, people shared the moment Joy Behar walked off the set and Keanu Reeves remained seated, calm, and composed. But what struck most viewers wasn't the drama, was the dignity. Keanu's phone had been buzzing non-stop since the episode aired. His publicist left voicemails about interview requests, praise from celebrities, and even invitations from news outlets wanting to make him the face of respectful discourse. Keanu ignored all of them. Instead, he went for a quiet walk around his neighborhood in Los Angeles, coffee in hand, hoodie up, stopping only to say hello to a homeless veteran he often chatted with near the park. The man, George, looked up and smiled. "Hey, I saw you on TV, man," George chuckled. "You made that lady so mad she just got up and left." Keanu laughed softly. "Wasn't my intention." "I know. That's why it worked." Those words stayed with Keanu all day. Later that afternoon, his assistant forwarded him an email from a high school teacher in Des Moines. The message was simple. "I showed your clip to my civics class." A student who rarely talks raised his hand and said, "I want to be like that guy. You didn't just shut someone down. You showed my kids how to stand up without shouting. Thank you." Keanu read it twice, then again. Across the country, other letters poured in: nurses, single parents, community organizers, even prison inmates, all saying the same thing. "Thank you for reminding us that integrity still matters." The GMA producers, sensing how viral the moment had become, reached out to Keanu for a follow-up interview. They wanted to bring Joy Behar back, offering her a chance to apologize on air and perhaps mend fences. Keanu responded with grace, but declined. "I appreciate the offer," he wrote, "but I think the moment has already spoken. There's no need to stretch it." Behind the scenes, Joy Behar was wrestling with her own thoughts. She had been in the business for decades, sharp-witted, unafraid to challenge anyone. But something about that encounter unsettled her. Her friend Whoopi Goldberg called her privately. "Joy," Whoopi said bluntly, "you were out of line. Keanu wasn't playing games. You were." Joy sighed. "I know. But I didn't expect him to be so calm. It threw me off." "That's not a weakness," Whoopi replied. "That's what makes him stronger than all of us." For once, Joy didn't have a comeback. A week passed. Then two. Keanu went back to filming a small indie drama in New Mexico. Quiet town, quiet life. But something had shifted. Everywhere he went, people looked at him with a little more reverence. Not because he'd won an argument, but because he'd modeled a better way to have one. One morning on set, Keanu's director approached him. She looked hesitant. "Keanu, can I ask something personal?" "Sure. Were you angry that day?" On GMA, Keanu thought about it. "I was disappointed." "Not at her," he added quickly. "At the state of conversation, we shout so much we've forgotten how to hear each other." That night, he wrote in a journal he rarely showed anyone. Kindness isn't performative. It's not soft. It's a discipline. It takes effort to pause, to listen, to stay seated when every part of you wants to walk away. I hope people remember that. Back in New York, GMA quietly released a clip weeks later, a tribute to Keanu, featuring footage from that day and voiceovers from fans around the world. The final caption read, "Sometimes the loudest truth is spoken in a whisper." The clip ended with Keanu's words, "We don't have to fight to be right. You just have to remember to be kind of in when it's hardest. It went viral again. As for Joy Behar, she returned to The View with a noticeably softer edge. During one segment about public figures and disagreements, she looked directly at the camera and said, "I want to acknowledge something. A few weeks ago, I had a moment I'm not proud of. I walked off a set when I should have stayed and listened. The person sitting across from me didn't yell, didn't belittle, just reminded me in the world that being calm isn't being weak, it's being strong. So thank you, Keanu." It was a rare public moment of humility. Months later, in a Los Angeles bookstore, a young boy walked up to Keanu. He was maybe 11, carrying a worn-out notebook. "My teacher said you're like a Jedi," the boy said. Keanu grinned. "I don't know about that, but you didn't fight back. You still won. That's what Jedi do." Keanu crouched down, looked him in the eye and said, "You can win any room by staying true to who you are, even when others forget how." The boy nodded solemnly and walked away. Keanu watched him go, thinking not of fame or interviews or drama, but of the quiet power of choosing grace in a graceless world. And in that moment, Keanu Reeves knew something deeper than victory. He had not just endured the storm, he had calmed it.